राम कबीरा एक पै है कोई न सके पहचानी राम कबीरा एक पै है राम कबीरा एक पै है कोई न सके पहचानी तुम करता तू
Okay, Jen, is that mic on? Ladies and gentlemen, Jen Smat.
Hey everybody, good morning. Good morning. It's Jen and Nick again. Jen and Nick. Back at ya. We're gonna make this short and sweet. Nick's gonna start. Take it away, Nick.
All right, what's up, everybody? Hey, okay. So we're gonna put out some little tip bowls. If you've been here before, you've seen the tip bowls for for the kitchen stuff. Where are we gonna put them? We're gonna put them up by the food. It'll say tips. So just to show our appreciation to these folks for making these delicious meals. I think they've been awesome so far. And my second announcement is.
And on that note, before the second announcement, a lot of, they really stretch for us. This isn't a place that normally does like vegetarian food that often. And so for a place that doesn't do vegetarian food, they do a really good job at it. Now, we've been coming like 11, 12 years now, but it was good from the get-go. They get a lot of the organic produce from this whole area is filled with great organic agriculture. A lot of the natural food movement even started up in just this little area right here. So anyways, and the people who work here are people that live locally and so forth, and real good people who do real heartfelt work. So that's why we always try to reciprocate the energy. Announcement 2.
2022 Menla Immersion is now open. There's an email coming with some info, special deals, discounts for you people and the people who are. Where's the camera?
Everybody at home too. We're opening registration for it's in October this year.
You people.
Early October in the Catskills, peak leaf season. I think that's what Josh told me yesterday. So if we get to the immersion and the leaves aren't peaked, then I don't live in the Catskills, so I can't say for sure. But this is what I was told. Anyways, whatever color the leaves are, it's going to be fantastic.
There's more info coming soon, so check your emails.
Joshua has spent some of his life in the Catskills, so it's not an uneducated opinion.
All right. So the rest is just some logistical stuff about tomorrow. I know we don't want to talk about tomorrow today, but we have to. So specifically for the people who are on the shuttle leaving here tomorrow, the shuttle will be leaving from Raptor Ridge, so the same place that you got dropped off is where you'll get on the shuttle tomorrow. The shuttle leaves sharply at 1:30 p.m., so that means bags should be packed and ready to go before this morning session. So if you're on the shuttle tomorrow, get everything packed and ready before you're sitting here for our last session together. So after the session, which will end at 1, you'll want to say goodbyes, some hugs probably, and some food really quickly before you have to get on the shuttle. And speaking of food, tomorrow, if you see a shuttle person looking frantic by the food, allow them to get their food first so they can get their food and go. Purple bracelets are more important tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Just slightly more important. Their food is more important. Okay, moving on from that. Also, I just wanted to mention just about the rideshare. One more thing about the rideshare. There's a lot of people there's a number of people who are searching for a ride to Sacramento Airport leaving tomorrow morning early-ish. So if anyone out there is leaving tomorrow morning early-ish and would like some company, head on up to the rideshare board and put your deets up there. and we can get you guys connected. And I think that's it. We're done. We might see you tomorrow. We might not. Have a great day.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Hi, everybody at home. Whoa, I thought last night was pretty fantastic. Wasn't that so cool? I thought one of the great immersion nights ever. I'm glad we have the recordings. You're fired. Okay. Session 6. Now keep the prayer posture, let the breath relax, bring the mind relatively spacious, and train your heart into the habit of starting a practice by extending itself, by feeling into the network of all living things, all living beings, how our happiness is intertwined with all living beings, how our freedom, our joy is intertwined with our interconnectivity. And so that just by bringing mindfulness to that simple thing, as you start a practice, eventually your mind will just start doing that naturally as you start a practice and as you end a practice. And that's what rituals are helpful for, is they create healthy habits that keep our heart connected to its altruistic blissfulness. Keeps our mind more well connected to our innate wisdom like that. So you chant Ad Gure Name, Jugad Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, Siddhi Gurudeve Name. It's also a useful opportunity where you can go through the four immeasurables just very quickly. Ad Gure Name, boundless love. Jugad Gure Name, boundless compassion. Sat Gure Name, boundless joy. And Siddhi Gurudeve Name, boundless equanimity. You could. You don't have to. You can just also chant a mantra. But if you do a practice every single day, then it's nice to put meaningful ideas into it so that it helps us to actually use it as a yoga. To use it as a yoga would mean, for instance, to cultivate greater altruism. That's called yoga. Just doing the exercises isn't necessarily called yoga. But if it's actually having blossoming, happy effects on our life, causing us to be more secure in ourselves, suffering less, happy more, able to help others more, able to want to help others more and more naturally. This is called yoga. Otherwise, they're, fancy exercises that are really helpful in lots of ways. But if for instance, one was a narcissist and practice Kundalini Yoga, it's not necessarily going to get rid of their narcissism. The narcissism could take a different shape or form and become more like spiritual narcissism, which I think is an even less attractive version of narcissism. I'm not pointing fingers in anyone else's direction. I'm aware that my mind could also do that and has. And that's a state of misery and suffering. So that's good. It's not to be judgmental of ourselves if we find some of our narcissistic tendencies. Yeah, of course. Doesn't mean it's a bad person, but it does mean a suffering person. And all of us are suffering some, right? Unless we're already Buddhas, and we don't even know unless you are a Buddha, we don't even know what Buddhas are. It's just a term. It doesn't have to be the semantic Buddha. It could be anything. But a Buddha is something that it certainly seems like it's like it takes one to know one kind of thing, where because I can't even imagine what a supreme reality must be like, because I'm not fully aware of it yet. But I definitely will be, and you definitely will be too. All of us are on that river ultimately. That is Dharma. That's the big river of Dharma. So to act like we have achieved supreme reality when we haven't creates a type of spiritual narcissism. And again, we may not be consciously thinking that we're doing that, but our subconscious mind, even it comes from our yearn to know the truth. To know the truth. All of us have those three primal desires of we want to live forever, we want to know absolute reality, truth, and we want supreme love. These are reasonable requests. These are called the three magnetic desires of the soul, though. So prana, tejas, and ojas. Air and ether element create prana. Fire creates tejas, light, truth, wisdom. And water and earth create ojas, which is in the body, and then the mind, it's the manifested expression of love. That's what gives you immune intelligence. That's what causes all the organs to work, is ojas. There's the intelligence of tejas there. There's the movement of prana, and it's all emanations of from the same source, of course. Ek Onkar. One vibrating energy, which all of this emanates from. That's why it's a nice place to start. Ek Onkar. Because we don't know what all this is. Nor do we need to know, but we have the desire to know. And so to be able to dwell in the inner space of our heart and our consciousness and our frequency, our subtle energy. Sometimes these words can get cliched very easily, like frequency. And so I like words. So I like really unpacking what do we mean when we say a word like that. And I think at least at a basic level, frequency is implying our subtle nature, our subtle energy, of which we very much have our subtle energy. And in fact, it's the subtlety of us that holds the greatest power, because it's the least changing. The body doesn't hold a lot of power. Even when it's young, it does. But that's relative power, because the body doesn't stay young. What is it that your bones are at their peak mineralization in the late 20s? And downhill from there? It is funny because it's true. But wisdom increases, you see. That's why so therefore it's natural to cultivate wisdom, and it's natural to want to cultivate wisdom. Because if you had the wisdom of the 60s with the body of the 20s, you'd be rocking it, right? Well, you see that even in, I've been watching basketball recently, and this is a spoiler-free environment, by the way. If I ever mention basketball, I have to mention that also. But you see how you get these young kids, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, that are absolutely on their way to mastery. It's incredible to watch them over a few years on the biggest stage in the world find their own greatness. So these are mythologies that play out in before our eyes. That's why, in part, why they're fun to watch. Not just the game, the storylines. It's mythologies, but mythologies is not just in sports and what's on the biggest stage in the world. Mythology is absolutely happening, and your own life is a mythology. So, but to pay attention to the mythologies all around us helps us pay attention to our own mythology. That's why we get inspired by sports. That's why you see something great happen in sports and you feel the love, don't you? Or in the arts. It could be the arts. It could be anything that we all appreciate together when you get to appreciate greatness happening in some way, shape, or form. We love it so much that we're willing to ignore all the corporations that are around it, which create, destruction all over the world, and not all of them, but much of just our whole. It's not pointing fingers at any one. It's the whole thing's fucked. And it's on our way to if it keeps moving into directions, you have to be very concerned about ending of the species. So that's why I think we should be concerned, because we want to preserve life. You have to know where our priorities are. It starts with each one of us, of course. But also we want to see that reflected in the society. That's why God bless those who have a dharma in politics or street activism. And because these are people who are often, especially if it's dharmic in those areas, are not well funded. It's very difficult work. You have to go totally against the grain. But they'll have a dharma for it. You got that nervous system to do it. You know what I mean? So even if that is us and we do have hard work, we can still live in joy, because you wouldn't do that work and you wouldn't be good at it if you didn't have the wiring to do it. This is called following, like Joseph Campbell said, following your bliss. I don't know if this last part's true, but I did hear it. I haven't been able to verify if it's true, but it's either way, it doesn't matter. But I was told that towards the end of his life, he said, wouldn't it have been wise if I would have said instead, follow your blisters? Which is a good teaching on Dharma. It reminds me of the story of Milarepa, Tibetan yogi, whose disciples were asking him, what is what is the secret of his like realization? And he was also, you know, a magician. And Milarepa is a great story to learn about if you're not familiar with the story of Milarepa. It started early with darker magic that due to a traumatic incident in his family that then took revenge using his siddhis, his inner powers, but then meets his guru afterwards and goes from someone who had in the early life experiment or been kind of used magic in ways that create suffering, and to being a fully realized being in a single lifetime. So that's an inspiring story. But some of his disciples came to him and what's the secret of his realization? And he turned around and pulled his pants down so they could see all the blisters on his ass from just countless, you know, hours upon hours and upon hours of practice and meditation, this type of thing. So, but these are dramatic stories and legendary stories, and they're from a different time as well, which is also important. They're from a different time. Perhaps there are definitely still some yogis practicing in this way, but it's much more rare than it used to be. Definitely. Especially in Tibet, sadly. And so that's what I mean by catastrophe is everywhere. It's like, can you avoid and just not think about the tragedies, the Tibetan tragedy? It's just one of so many that each one of them will break your heart so much you can't even like stand to think about it. But wow, and you get these great yogis who are in there practicing compassion meditation for those who are torturing them. And doing it genuinely. This is not moralistic play. And so anyhow, when you have a dharma to do something, do it. That's all. I mean, you know, like artists, it's like these musicians out here, these are first class. And man, it's hard for artists to even support themselves in our society. So it is beautiful to have a vision of a society where artists are as valuable as business people. See, that's why it's important for that, because that would help everybody. It's not just, oh, it'll help the artists. No, it helps all of us. Look how much we get from art, from great art. But when we become too hypnotized by samsara, we start to put excess value on things that don't need it and shouldn't have it because it becomes destructive. It's not saying don't have business, don't have money, don't have corporations. It's saying they need to be in the proper place within the society, and they need to be there to serve the people. Just like everything else, serve the people, serve others. And so when compassion is the backbone of the society, the fabric of the society, things will work much better, definitely. And will this perfect society? No. But you'll have the wisdom to deal with the problems that do arise in a more harmonious way. So it's definitely, I think, important to hold that vision and not be like, oh, it'll never happen. Well, who knows if it'll never happen? But the vision is very important. And so how else is that actually going to happen unless human beings are actually training their hearts to be compassionate? It's just starting with ourselves. And then out of that, your personal dharma flows. And you might just end up a badass cellist. Or you just might end up being, you know, just like a carpenter that just like excellence in what you do, whether carpentry, whether everything and anything. And not even excellence in the sense of what we think of it in terms of careers orientation either. If you have the blessed opportunity to be at home with children when they're growing up, and life is supporting you to do so with any relative ease, hey, there's no dharma greater than that. So there's no dharma that is superior to any other dharma anyways. But maybe just relative within some different contexts, such as if you have the purple bracelet, you can get to the front of the line and lunch in the hours of 1 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. on Sunday. So sometimes things are relatively superior, but things are not absolutely superior. So within certain contexts, some things are more important than others. But if we take relative life and you transfer it to a mirage of ultimate life, so now money in the vision that we currently, the current capitalistic vision of how we perceive value in our society, everybody gets so uptight. If the stock market's going up, if the stock market's going down, that's a reflection of something else. Why does it keep going up and down? Instability. That's samsara. That's why, because it's part of samsara. That shit's going to go up, that shit's going to get down. The ones who are smart enough to kind of be able to understand its rhythms a little more, make more money than other people, that type of thing, okay, whatever. The whole thing's a game. But when the game is not about serving the people, then it's a nasty game. And so, therefore, whatever it is that we're doing in life is about serving others, serving life, adding value to life. And you don't add value to life by trying to maximize profits. You just don't. Maximizing profits may be important within the relativity of your business. If you have a business, it needs to have a profit. Profit is the vitality of the business. If the business doesn't have enough vitality, the business is going to crash and die, and you need to find a job. So you got to do something. If you're gonna have some vehicle, not everybody has to have a business. Not everybody has to have a job. I'm not saying that, but you have to do something with your life. Life doesn't just stay still in that way. So that is the river of dharma. But if the business ideas, which are relative in their context, profit is important. But it's important for the relative to that vehicle's vitality. And so you got some monster trucks that are just like smashing all over these other vehicles, so it makes things more difficult for everyone and that type of thing. Anyways, this is going to be a mess, I think, for a long time to come. But it's also, I still think it's important to just recognize, at least to some degree, it's not saying we understand it completely, but it's saying there's some things that are kind of obvious. And that business can be a beautiful thing, but it's not an easy thing. And to really do it well in the way that it's actually hopefully it's a vehicle for dharma. It's a vehicle for helping. It's a vehicle for service. It's a vehicle for also the dharmas of the people who are helping. Keep the vehicle alive. Help the vehicle have good vitality so it can serve best. And of course, yes, it needs to support us so we can live our lives comfortably enough to do what our life is all about. Part of our life is enjoyment. Part of our life is hard work. Part of our life is relationships. Part of our lives is having family. So all of these things have to be supported. We're not ascetics or renunciate monks, or most of us that have somebody make us our meals every day, and all our lunch and breakfast and dinner needs are taken care of. Have you noticed how much it helps to not have to think about your food for a few days and to just know it's going to be there, and how much energy is now available for other things like yoga practice? They had a good idea, those monastic. But a lot of times it goes a little bit weird. Yeah. But that is a tragedy of Tibet. You know, if you ever have the chance, read Bob Thurman's Inner Revolution book, and particularly I love the introduction where he really describes the glory of Tibet and the Tibetan yogas and the glory of actually that monastic community and the importance of it to society. And so whether it's monastic or it's some other way that society is supporting, you know, our spiritual culture, but not spiritual culture in terms of religion, I don't think that's going to work in this day and age at all. People need to just be able to feel comfortable in whatever way they wish to live their life, and when it comes to spirituality especially. And that doesn't mean we don't have beautiful religions. I think the religions will be much more beautiful if we work with them that way, because there's not this neediness to like be a member of somebody's club. You should, you know, give praise in the way you feel that you give praise. And if you love your religion, that's a blessing. And it's a blessing to feel, to whatever way that we're provided in our life, to connect with a supreme reality in whatever way we can. Because we come from there and we go to there. So it's nice to stay in touch. And, you know, call your mother. And so, anyhow, when starting a practice, it's nice to think about these types of things. and take a moment. An immersion is nice because we can really think about these things and reflect on them. But notice it's not telling you anything. It's not saying you need to do this at this point and do this at this point in order for any of this to work. It's not doing that so much. It's just, I hope, helping the mind to reflect more deeply on the circumstances of our lives and how to improve them, and how to really learn how to be happy, so when we come to the end of our life, as we will, that we feel really good about it. And we feel really good about it, not because all the things we've done, but because we've learned how to live with presence. That's all. We've learned how to enjoy the moment. That's going to be a big moment. A big adventure, you know. And so, well, they say the perfect saints are like, it's just like taking off an old coat. Well, maybe it'll be more than that. Maybe it'll be like underwear, untie the shoes, take them off. Maybe, who knows? I don't know what it'll be like. But I do think absolutely there's bliss involved. And I think it would be nice to be able to enjoy that bliss. And how do you do that? You learn how to enjoy bliss while you're alive. It's not some cheesy bliss idea that could be evoked through any chemical or even any plant medicine, honestly. You can get tastes of it through that type of thing, for sure. But ultimately, it has to be cultivated by doing actual Dharma practice. You know what I mean by that? Training of the mind. So herbal medicines, all sorts of plant medicines can be allies in training of the mind, but they don't do it themselves. Samsara never goes away just by itself. We have to actively get rid of it. You see what I mean? We have to actively get rid of our tendencies of grasping onto things and pushing things away. What does that mean? That means complete trust in reality. This is a process. Complete trust in reality. That's a state of praise. So that anything that's coming your way, you're trusting, is exactly as it should be. But see, this is why if this is, I think, such a huge problem and challenge, I think perhaps, and I don't know for sure, but I think perhaps the collision of Eastern spiritual traditions with modern Western culture over the last 50 to 75 years, but much more so in the last, since the late 1960s, where you get this kind of conflict between relative and absolute, where it's easy to gain great awareness and to have more and more trust that everything that's happening is just as it should be. Now, what's the danger that comes? Indifference. And so you can be through that type of certain sense of bliss, it's easy to become indifferent to the struggles of other people. And then you get stuck. That's why the compassion piece is so important. Not to just be there. It's like compassion's in all the spiritual traditions. The question is it kind of like a side? Or is it the center pillar of the whole thing? And so, compassion when it's convenient. So, this isn't what I thought the relationship session was going to be like. But it is about relationship. And so I think maybe that's why Abraham Joshua Heschel is famous for saying, indifference to evil is more evil than evil itself. He's a great Rebbe, famous, of course, for marching arm in arm with a very close friend of Dr. King. So, but you know what I mean? When you can hang out in that bliss state a little bit, and it makes it easy to become indifferent to the struggles of others. But the problem is there's too many struggles, there's too many catastrophes, there's too many genocides. Which one are you going to choose? Isn't it? How do you choose out of all the catastrophes which one to put your energy into? Which ones? How do you even digest them? You have to just forget about them all. It's just too overwhelming, isn't it? But Dharma. You follow the path of Dharma, but to have some wisdom to know the possibility of indifference and to know that Dharma is not synonymous with pleasures. Dharma absolutely transcends pleasures. Dharma is full of pleasure and full of pain. So, if we have that within our awareness, then perhaps we'll be less likely to be indifferent. Because we'll feel the call of our heart to help. And if we know that our real bliss resides in being open to our own suffering and being open to the suffering of others, then we'll have less trouble seeing our Dharma, finding our Dharma, finding our sense of purpose. Sometimes it's right there in the pain. And sometimes I think that's how the Mother Nature in her compassion exposes our pain, exposes our obstructions by giving us some pain so that we can become aware of really the richness that isn't being touched yet. So to us, it couldn't feel like compassion. But I think eventually we will know it's compassion, whether it's during this lifetime or hereafter. So that's why they say emptiness, the womb of compassion, mother of compassion. And when that really starts to take hold, not just, idea-wise, the importance of compassion, but when it's really starting to take effect on our life, it overflows to every single relationship we have. Understand through compassion, or you will misunderstand the time. That doesn't just mean in the big scheme of things, and understand the time, like about all the wars going on and all the important social issues and the important things around the world. It's easy for the spiritual folk to just not pay attention. But what about all the folks suffering? It's a privilege to be able to practice yoga and to meditate and to have a life. Just to be in a human body is a privilege. And then if you also have all the faculties in place to actually even practice a dharma, to even have the tools to really get happy. I'm not promoting anybody's club, by the way. I'm using these terms in a very big context. There's infinite amount of dharmas in the sense that there's infinite amount of people, infinite amount of beings, countless. Infinite meaning countless. You can't count them all. Is what Guru Nanak keeps saying in Japji over and over. Countless are this, countless. He's like, countless are the wretched ones, countless those who destroy the world due to their foolishness and suffering. And then he flips it. He's like, countless are the yogis. Countless are the ones who are lost in the bliss of their devotion. Countless are those who are serving. So he hits all the polarities. But he says that anyone even tried to write this down, they'll just fail. He said, anyone tries to count how many there are, you would never stop counting. And so it keeps on just with his kind of poetic force is just open, breaking away barriers of the mind. The parts of the mind that have convinced itself that we know what's going on, and drawing the mind and thus the heart into space of not knowing, non-knowing. And thus that is the foundation of wonder. You can't have wonder and awe if there's too much knowing going on. Right? So he lived in Vismad, wonder. And so when we do dwell, though, in that blissful state on a regular basis, that's what a sadhana is all about, is prioritizing time and space for taking care of what's most important. Our subtlety, our consciousness, our heart, our mind. And helping it to blossom, helping our being to blossom through this vehicle. But when we prioritize that time, we can more consistently dwell in that space. Or this is not just a philosophy that we live by, but this is something that's actually having effect on our life that nobody could tell us that it wasn't. Because you're experiencing it in your relationship. Right in front, who in here's got a couple really important relationships in their life that demands attention pretty much every day on some level? You have children or a significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, all of these things, a boss, co-workers, etc. Understand through compassion, or you misunderstand the time. You can understand through compassion by reflecting on something that happened and then think about, okay, what would be a more compassionate way to feel? That's useful. It's a good starting point. But ultimately, if we're really arousing compassion actively in our life as among the most important parts of our sadhana. Then that second step where you need to reflect on it to think about what would be the more compassionate way to go about this will not be as necessary as often, because compassion will be active in your initial response more often. Not all the time, probably, especially at first. Eventually, all the time, why not? But we're not in a rush. Baby steps. Next time you lose your shit, compassion for yourself. That has to go that way too, right? Otherwise, the whole thing gets too uptight. You know what I mean? And then all the joy goes away. Being such a good yogi. Doing everything right. Not failing. Don't we do that? I don't know who said it. Fail again, fail better. Fail again, fail better. Fail again, fail better. I saw this little meme of God, of a guy up in heaven and God sending him back down. Or this, I think maybe it was even a whole committee, and you going back down to your 154,000th lifetime. Okay, try again, but this time good. It's not a rush, baby steps. Make sure we're laughing, not being careful not to take this spiritual stuff too seriously. Take it seriously by cultivating compassion of the heart and kindness and having priority of that in our life, which typically looks like some type of sadhana. It doesn't need to be a rigid system. Find something that works for yourself. I think a system is probably important for the vast majority of people, but it doesn't have to be one system only. It could be things that you have found that work for you in your life that blend perfectly together for you. It's important that there's only so many breaths here, so many times in a day, so maybe I don't practice all the things. Maybe I just choose the ones that most work for me, and then I get inspiration from anywhere, at any time. But in terms of how am I going to create time and space to prioritize Dharma in my life, as if unveil your great purpose, this is how to do it. You're just going to do it in a Wednesday to Sunday period. Yeah, you can in a certain way that you can put it in motion. But this is unveiling your great purpose is a forever thing. That's the path of wonder. It takes not knowing. Why are we able to not know? Why we become comfortable with non-knowing? Because you have the innate primal desire to know. We're gripping on to knowing. But real knowing comes from not knowing. From the activity of non-knowing. And thus, what is the positive of that negative? It's wonder and awe. Mystery. Wow. That's why Guru mantra is all about, really. Wow. And it's used in all circumstances at any time, because this whole thing's a trip. And it's also glorious. It's awesome and it's terrible. It's everything. Waheguru. A baby's born. Waheguru. Someone passes away. Same mantra. The mantra meets every circumstance and situation, and therefore neutralizes the psyche to a certain extent, so that we don't get swung by the polarities that we are definitely experiencing. It's not that we're not feeling, it's not that we're not thinking, it's that we're not being swung by the waves of thought, feelings, emotions, and desires to the point that we lose our sense of what we are and what our life is all about. Can we go through life that way? Understand through compassion, or misunderstand the time. So it's misunderstand the time of that moment, that's where no real knowing comes from, is presence, present moment awareness. Intuition is present moment awareness, to where there's the swing of polarity has neutralized to a relative extent that your intuitive psyche can be operational. Making sense? And that's wisdom. That's knowing through non-knowing, by being present in the moment and being available to respond to the circumstances that life is presenting in a wise way. If there's active compassion in the mind and the heart, that compassion will absolutely respond to whatever the situation is in your life. You found a new lover. You broke away from a lover. When you're connecting, initially, the endorphins are super duper high, and everything is feeling really blissful. That's a type of bliss too, isn't it? That bliss is fleeting. Don't get too attached. Because even if that's even at the best relationship, that part's going away in that form. It can absolutely reemerge in new forms. But it won't if you're attached to the old form, of course. And sometimes it's a change of people in our lives. Too much attachment to the current form of whatever things look like. So by having compassion for yourself when you feel those grips of attachment coming on, that'll help you be able to hold awareness of how you are attaching. Let's say it differently. Let's depersonalize it. How our mind, emotional body is attaching. You can think about it in both ways. Does it make sense? So, because without compassion for oneself, you're not going to look at that attachment. It feels too good. True or no? But if you have compassion for yourself, you can endure the pain of paying attention to your attachments, because you're turning it, if you do that enough and you try it enough, and you need sadhana to try it, because otherwise, how is the mindfulness going to stay intact when you're under the powerful sexual waves of emotion? It's not that you don't enjoy it, you do, but you enjoy it more by understanding how the mind-body organism operates, its architecture, and the ways that cause suffering and the ways that cause more lasting bliss. More lasting bliss requires less attachment. But that's not convenient to pay attention to when you're just enjoying a new relationship. But because we think it's going to block the enjoyment. It's not. In fact, it make you enjoy it more. But our emotional momentum will have to chill for that to happen a little bit. Do you know what I mean by that? The momentum of how our emotions are used to operating so far in our lives. Make sense? And we only have access to these things one layer at a time, like peeling an onion. You can't do the work now that you could do with your mind back in your 20s. Oh, I wish I would have found this in my 20s. I hear that all the time. It's kind of irrelevant. Because, well, first of all, you didn't. But it wouldn't really matter if you did, because you only have so much wisdom in your 20s anyway. Of course, everything matters, but what really matters is what actually happened and what is currently happening. Because we like to look at our horoscopes and look at all this stuff and see how I wish it was better. That's already, trust has gone out the window. You see why sadhana is important? How are you going to maintain that type of trust? Doesn't mean we still don't have those emotions and those feelings that, like, my chart is trash. It doesn't mean you still don't do that. Charlotte, lean into that one. Well, that's a Charlotte. Line quote. But she knows. But she's able to say that because it's in good fun and humor. So when we're not taking ourselves too seriously, and we are developing deeper trust, we can feel those waves of emotion, and those thoughts will still come by, and then it's more comedy. Use it for fun, and that way it doesn't get such a grip on you. But sometimes life really bears down on us and gets a grip on us, doesn't it? In that time, compassion. You see how it works, though, in all the situations? You need to go through a breakup. If you have active compassion, it'll be hard, but you will come out on the other side blissful. You're going to go in a new relationship, and you practice compassion when you experience in both directions. It's easy sometimes to have compassion for all sentient beings. What about that one right in front of you? You know what I mean? It's like we think of, well, it's our lovers, our families, our friends, and other people that don't like our family, our enemies. Maybe that's how it used to be also, like more so in village culture, but I think sometimes our family are playing our enemy, aren't they? Sometimes the closest ones to us are our most powerful enemies. I'm just using that word because now we've talked about relativity. You see, if we don't understand the difference between relative statement and an absolute statement, then the spiritual stuff gets all confused. You think enemy's an absolute statement, that's confusion. Because enemy doesn't exist without friend. They're two sides of the same coin. We're in the realm of relativity. That's what it is. There's nothing wrong with it. It's an emanation of intelligence, love, and truth. But it's relative truth. Absolute truth requires wonder, awe, mystery, joy. So enemy, often your significant other is your enemy. It's true because they're the one who is triggering your subconscious most intimately. Isn't that true? So enjoy that part more. Because if you didn't have an enemy, you wouldn't have the opportunity to develop the deeper levels of compassion. It's just impossibility. You need someone who knows how to trigger you better. Because they know you so well. But if they're practicing compassion too, that thing gets real good. It does. Because you can hold each other. Not just physically, that too, but you can hold each other emotionally. Compassion, it's a thing. But what's really the thing is to how many of us are actively arousing it as part of a sadhana. And we might be doing Om Namo all the time, and we're not even sure why we're doing it. I think that's still beneficial. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not criticizing anything. I'm just saying there's also like this whole reservoir of goodness there. You're there anyways, why don't jump in? You ever been to the river on a day like today? It's a total reset. And that's what hanging out in the compassion field as part of sadhana helps to do. It kind of cleanses you like a reservoir, like a water. Because needs some water element for all that fire and air, like and soot. No, if there's not the devotional piece with loving kindness, this is going to make me have more loving kindness. Is that I'm actively generating loving kindness as I do this in order to hold the immense power that is there. As the energy of your real being starts to really become alive inside of your awareness. That's called Dharma. You will not have to look for a job or a career or anything like that. You'll flow. And all those things will be taken care of. And you'll have more and more trust in it. I'm speaking it to myself as well. This is not me telling you. It's to my own mind, but it's to my own mind based on my own experience of this already in process, already happening all the time, already helping me all the time. It's just a way of happiness, but a way of a more sustained happiness based on getting the subtle nature to be stronger and more predominant in the life, so that we're less being swept up by the polarized magnetism of the changing world, the world of narratives and dramas. It's an important part of our life, but it's relative. It's not supreme. It's not ultimate. So if we get confused in the subconscious, in our inner patterns, and we're mistaking the relative reality as the absolute reality, we're experiencing suffering because of that. That's the physics underneath it. So that's why it's nice to have a little time every day, or at least as much as you can, to take that bath. Not take a bath and just sometimes it's too, yes, the bath will cleanse you and purify you, but let's not make any mistake about it. This isn't about purification predominantly. This is about experiencing your innate goodness, your innate brilliance, your innate love, and experiencing the interconnected web of which we're a part of. And so yes, it is purifying, but it's purifying the mind. The mind is what is being purified, not you. You are being glorified. That's yoga practice. Well, let's take a little break. Let's turn on these fans, and then we'll, in about 15 minutes, do some exercises. Satnam.
कबीर तू तो करता तू हुआ.
I absolutely had every intention to start with exercises. I did. I was just telling them I had every intention to just start with exercises today. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah. I think we have what we need for Project 1. Yeah.
जब आपा पर का मिट गया, आपा पर का मिट गया, जत देखो तत तू कहता तू हुआ, मुझ में रहा तू कहता तू हुआ. जब आपा पर का मिट गया, आपा पर का मिट गया, जब देखो तब तू करता तू हुआ,
That feels good, right? Yeah. Yeah.
When I did my silent retreat, I went like and I was like, I guess I know my dog.
Yeah.
Like low on that effort.
Definitely, yeah. That's absolutely the way to do it. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be a person. Yeah. Yeah, there. That's why that's the blessing of dogs. Yeah. Hey, Ramona.
कबीरा एक पै है कोई न सके पहचानी राम कबीरा एक पै है कोई न सके पहचानी राम कबीरा एक पै है राम कबीरा एक पै है कोई न सके पहचानी साधु हुआ मुझ में रहना
If it comes up, just accept it. I've got to pee. If it doesn't work, just shoot me a text. I definitely want to hear it.
Right on, yeah.
जब आपा पर का मिट गया आपा पर का मिट गया जब देखूं तब तुम करता कबीर तू करता मुझ में जब आपा पर का मिट गया आपा पर का मिट गया जब देखूं तब तू करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना जब आपा पर का मिट गया आपा पर का मिट गया जब देखूं तब तू करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना जब आपा पर का मिट गया आपा पर का मिट गया जब देखूं तब तू करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना अब तो जाए चढ़े सिंहासन मिले हैं सारंग पानी अब तो जाए चढ़े सिंहासन मिले हैं सारंग पानी राम कबीरा एक पे है कोई न सके पहचानी राम कबीरा एक पे है कोई न सके पहचानी राम कबीरा एक पे है राम कबीरा एक पे है कोई न सके पहचानी तुम करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना तुम करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना जब आपा पर का मिट गया आपा पर का मिट गया जब देखो तत तुम करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना तुम करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना मुझ में रहना मुझ में रहना कबीर तू करता मुझ में करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना तुम करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना तुम करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना जब आपा पर का मिट गया आपा पर का मिट गया जब देखो तत तू करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना तुम करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना जब आपा पर का मिट गया आपा पर का मिट गया जब देखो तत तुम करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना तुम करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना जब आपा पर का मिट गया आपा पर का मिट गया जब देखो तत तुम करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना तुम करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना अब तो जाए चढ़े सिंहासन मिले हैं सारंग पानी अब तो जाए चढ़े सिंहासन मिले हैं सारंग पानी राम कबीर एक पहले हैं कोई न सके पहचानी राम कबीर एक पहले हैं कोई न सके पहचानी राम कबीर एक पहले हैं राम कबीर एक पहले हैं कोई न सके पहचानी करता तू हुआ जब आपा पर का मिट गया आपा पर का मिट गया जब देखूं तब तुम करता तू हुआ तुझ में रहना तुम करता तू हुआ तुझ में रहना तुझ में रहना तुझ में रहना कबीर तू करता मुझ में करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना जब आपा पर का मिट गया आपा पर का मिट गया जब देखूं तब तू करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना जब आपा पर का मिट गया आपा पर का मिट गया जब देखूं तब तू करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना जब आपा पर का मिट गया आपा पर का मिट गया जब देखूं तब तू करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना करता तू हुआ मुझ में रहना
Hey, Megan.
अब तो जाए चढ़े सिंहासन मिले हैं सारंग पानी अब तो जाए चढ़े सिंहासन मिले हैं सारंग पानी राम कबीरा एक पै है कोई न सके पहचानी राम कबीरा एक पै है कोई न सके पहचानी राम कबीरा एक पै है राम कबीरा एक पै है कोई न सके पहचानी हुक्म करता तू हुआ मुझे रहना हुक्म करता तू हुआ मुझे रहना जब आपा पर का मिट गया आपा पर का मिट गया जब देखो तब
Thank you for letting me do that. I appreciate it. I want to know what you do too. We have to connect. But anyways, I'm so happy to hear that. Beautiful. Yeah.
करता
Adgude Nama, Jugadgude Nama, Satgude Nama, Siri Gurudeve Nama, Adgude Nama, Jugadgude Nama, Satgude Nama, Siri Gurudeve Nama, Adgude Nama, Jugadgude Nama, Satgude Nama, Siddhi. So try it with the four measurables just for experimentation purposes, okay? Just reminder. And you don't worry about thinking about them in intellectual concepts too much. It's just kind of maybe resonating them like you would in a certain sense a mantra, but a mantra in this case that your mind will understand with a language that you're familiar with. It's like it's boundless love, boundless compassion, boundless joy, boundless equanimity. So then, when you do like Adgude Name, boundless love, Jugadgude Name, just in your heart, boundless compassion, Satgude Name, boundless joy, Sri Gurudeve Name, boundless equanimity. You're just chanting the mantra. Adgude Name, Jugadgude Name, Satgude Name, Sri Gurudeve Name, Adgude Name, Jugadgude Name, Satgude Name, Sri Gurudeve Name, Adgude Name, Jugadgude Name, Satgude Name, Sri Gurudeve Name, Adude Name, Jugadude Name, Satarude Name, Siddhi Gurude Name, Adude Name, Jugadude Name, Satgurude Name, Siddhi Gurude. This one, direct them to yourself. Keep chanting. Adivude Name. Satgurude Name. Siddhi Gurudeve Name. Direct to your loved ones. To your enemy. To boundless life. Good job. Like that. It's just like, don't forget to turn those faucets on in the morning. Keep them going. Keep those streams flowing. So that's just a technique. Is that what you should do? No. Is that what everyone does? No. It's just a technique. Make sense? Cool. I think there will probably be a Life Force, some teacher training coming in the next, I don't know, 8 to 12 months that Life Force Academy will produce. But with all this stuff, and one reason I think I'm led to do it is because I think it's really important with this stuff that we don't, when teaching and sharing it, that it really is helping the expression of the individual. So we're not producing like parrots that just repeat things that have been said. Of course, some of that's fine, but what I mean is parrot consciousness, where that's the kind of the main way that things are trying to transfer, but instead that all of this, even teacher training or doing any of these courses, it's, even though there may be some professional ambition around it or not, it's really taking like a path of being taught, really. And to take a path of being taught means you have to not know too much. That's one thing, especially if those of us who have strong Jupiter energy. That's a blessing, definitely. Most everyone, if they had the choice, you don't. You want strong Jupiter energy? Yeah, I'm signing on that dotted line, for sure. Strong Jupiter energy, what do you want your dose? Pretty strong. And take it strong. But still, we would need to be mindful that every blessing has a curse and every curse has a blessing. And so even, say, Jupiter abundance, we're talking still relativity here. Wisdom, though, is also Jupiter. And wisdom will allow you to see relativity for what it is and to really experience prosperity like that. But what Jupiter can do is, because whether it's a strong Jupiter in like the Piscean sense or a strong Jupiter in the more of a Sagittarian sense, both of them have a strong sense of knowing. And their knowing is legit a lot of the time. It is legit, definitely, because it's Jupiter energy, and Jupiter gives you a sense of knowing. It's called intuition. So it's not questioning people's sense of knowing, but it's bringing mindfulness to the tendency of Jupiter to know things and to relax on the knowing a little bit and to also be in the non-knowing and allow the wonder and the amazement to come through like that. So So when we're going into these practices in Kundalini Yoga and we're doing these exercises, yeah, there's a system to it. There's a way to do it, definitely. But there's flexibility within the system. And most importantly, with all of this, it has to work. Those interested in it, I would encourage them to find a way that it works uniquely for you, because there's so many ways that you can use it. There's not one way. There's not one time to get up. There's not one way that it has to be done. There are common ways that it is done, but the common ways may not be my cup of tea, that type of thing. So that's all. I just want to, and if you're newer to Kundalini Yoga, I would, or really anyone who's interested, I would, if you haven't taken that new Kundalini Yoga course we produced this spring, it's the newest course we've produced, I highly recommend it. It's my favorite thing that we've ever produced regarding teaching Kundalini Yoga fundamentals. And fundamentals isn't necessarily beginners. Fundamentals needs renewal all the time in any craft, in any practice. So it's Kundalini Yoga fundamentals, at least how I see it, and how I experience it, and how I like to share it, and it's fun, and it's cool. Who did take that course? Oh, just a handful. So anyways, you can get it while you're here if you want to, and everybody at home too. I didn't mean to turn it into a promo, but here we are. Okay, let's do some exercises. Come onto the hands and the knees. His business does need vitality to keep flowing, trust me. Inhale, the head is up. Exhale, the head is down.
ਵਿਛੜੇ ਤੇ ਮਾਦੋ ਇਹੋ ਜਨਮ ਤੁਮਾਰੇ ਦੇਖੇ ਇਹੋ ਜਨਮ ਤੁਮਾਰੇ ਦੇਖੇ ਇਹੋ ਜਨਮ ਤੁਮਾਰੇ ਦੇਖੇ ਇਹੋ ਜਨਮ ਤੁਮਾਰੇ ਦੇਖੇ बहुत जन्म बहुत जन्म कह रविदास आस लग जीवा कह रविदास आस लग जीवा चिर पयो दर्शन देखे चिर पयो दर्शन देखे चिर पयो दर्शन देखे बहुत जन्म
Deeper the breath, and keep going.
ਵਿਛੜੇ ਤੇ ਮਾਦੋ ਇਹੋ ਜਨਮ ਤੁਮਾਰੇ ਦੇਖੇ ਇਹੋ ਜਨਮ ਤੁਮਾਰੇ ਦੇਖੇ
Inhale, head up. Exhale, head down. Good. Come to the easy pose, please. Index fingers to your thumbs. Gyan Mudra, chest lifted, inhaling deep. Exhaling. Inhale.
ਸਰਦੀ
breath of fire, like that.
ਦਇਆਲ ਨ ਤੂੰ ਸਰ ਅਬ ਪਤਿਆਰ ਕਿਆ ਕੀਜੈ ਅਬ ਪਤਿਆਰ ਕਿਆ ਕੀਜੈ ਬਚਨੀ ਤੋਰ मोर मन माने बचनी तोर मोर मन माने जन को पूर्ण दीजै जन को पूर्ण दीजै जन को पूर्ण दीजै बहुत जन्म बिछड़े ते मारो एहो जन्म तुम्हारे देखे ए जन्म तुम्हारे देखे बहुत जन्म
90 seconds. Merge into the breath. It's not aggressive, it's smooth.
हों पल पल जाओ रमैया कारण हों पल पल जाओ रमैया कारण कमुन अबोध कारण कमुन अबोध कारण कौन अबोध बहुत जन्म बिछड़े ते मारो एहो जन्म तुम्हारे देखे एहो जन्म तुम्हारे देखे एहो जन्म तुम्हारे देखे एहो जन्म तुम्हारे
Inhale deeply.
बहुत
Suspension.
बहुत जन्म बहुत जन्म
Exhale. Inhale. Hands on your ankles or shins. Sit bones connected, please, no? Yeah. The rhythm. It's not about maximum extension in this case, it's about rhythm, groove, breath, prana, soulfulness, subtlety. Third eye is the gaze, soft gaze of the third eye. It's the technique of enjoyment. Soft gaze, soft heart, rhythm and groove. Eyes are closed down. A nice rhythm and groove. Lift through your heart center. As you lift through your heart, sit bones pressing down towards the earth.
मस्त में करे खुदाए बेलालो जात सनाती और हिंदवाणियां एपी लेके लाए बेलालो खून के सोहले का भी है नानक खून के सोहले का भी है नानक रक्त का कुंगू पाए बेदालो साहिब के गुण नानक गावे मासपुरी विच आँख मसोला जिन उपाई रंग रवाई बैठा
Inhale.
वाक्य अकेला सच्चा सो साहिब सच तपावस
Exhale.
सचड़ा न्याय
Hands to your knees.
करेग
Same motion. Sit bones down, chest lifts. Yeah.
टुक टुक होसी काया कपड़ी टुक टुक होसी काया कपड़ी टुक टुक होसी काया कपड़ टुक टुक होसी हिंदुस्तान समाज सी बोला अमन 78 जान 97 अमन 78 जान 97 अमन 78 जान 97 और भी उठ सी मर्द का चेला और भी उठ सी मर्द का चेला सच की बाणी 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 नानक आके सच की बाणी नानक आखे सच सुनाए सी सच की बेला सच सुनाए सी सच की बेला
Inhale deeply.
ऐसी में आवे
Suspend the breath.
की बाणी तैसड़ा करी ज्ञान वेला
Exhale. That's pretty great. Hands on your knees still, chest stays lifted. Soften the gaze into the third eye with togetherness. At a certain point, you don't have to try too hard with these exercises because it doesn't need it as much. And if you're trying harder than is needed, that's when we get a little bit of inflammation. So it's always trying to tune into my body and practice with sensitivity in that way. You can be powerful with sensitivity. Your sensitivity may tell you, you know what, I need to move some energy right now. It's feeling very stuck. But by putting sensitivity first, then you don't get stuck in the moving more aggressive mode when it doesn't always need it. Inhale, squeeze up. And exhale. And stretch your legs out wide. You know how we do that a little bit? Because you do something and it worked really well for a period of your life. And so you just kind of assume this is always going to work because it's working all the time right now. And then you hit another time of life, but you're still in the mode from the previous time of life and what worked in the previous time of life, but somehow you're not getting the same results. Something's off. Everything was just fine. Something must be wrong there must be a glitch in the system because it's certainly not me. I'm doing the same thing I've always done. It's always worked. Inhale to the center, turn to the left, exhale down. Turn the other side, exhale down. When I got back from Lightning in a Bottle, I'd been in this like RV for the whole week, which that's a luxury because you have water. But I got a little, was a little generous with myself on using the water, and then like the last couple of days there wasn't water in there. And then I thought, well, I'm gonna get home and there'll be water. I do have some tourist placements. Trying to be comfortable. So I got home and there was no water. I was like, fuck. I wanted water too much. But actually what happened was, inhale center. And now, if you could, open the legs a little wider and continue. Just opening gentle. This is not stretching. It's nurturing the life nerve. So what actually happened is, Rahu changed signs, about a month ago or so. And Rahu entered into Aries. Rahu is one half of the eclipse. Rahu and Ketu are the two nodes of the eclipse, or what creates eclipse. And when you track those nodal points, those are what are called Rahu, and that's how we know Rahu and Ketu in the horoscope. So for me, as a Capricorn ascendant, that means Aries is my 4th house. So the planet, it's not actually a planet, it's a graha, but for all practical purposes here, the planet that is famous for drying things up and creating disturbance and turmoil in your life, entered into my 4th house, and I got home and I'm like, the well's bad. Or something's wrong because there's water not coming out of the faucets. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Come easy pose. And I don't know how many of you live in this part of the country, but when you don't have water out here, it's not fun. You don't want to live in a house that doesn't have a well. So it gave me a little bit of home identity crisis, because immediately what does the mind do when there's no water coming out is to say, well, if you have no water in California, first of all, the value of your house just took a real big dive. And all of these complications with having good water. You have to have water to live. You can't have a home if there's not good water. So isn't that cool how the planets work like that? They're not, see, even like the ones we don't like Rahu, it's benevolence. It's so important. This is why mistaking the relative for the absolute creates confusion. Because if you think Saturn is absolutely negative, that's confusion. Saturn is relative. It can be negative, it can be positive. Rahu is relative. It can be negative, it can be positive, but it tends to create disruption and tends to create high vata, which is air and ether, which creates dryness. But it also can create identity challenges. Definitely. Any of the tough planets can create identity transformations. And if we're not actively involved in the business of transformation in our life, I don't mean business, but I mean just our life, it's important to us in our life that we're actively always nurturing that, because that's how we grow, and we're always growing. Well, if we're not actively nurturing that, then we'll experience it more like, what do we call it? Crisis, midlife crisis, identity crisis. But crisis can happen at any point, because planets, the mathematics of your birth is unique. But that also means what? It means the opposite is true. We just tend to focus on the crisis part. Because that's what our minds tend to do, because the first part of our mind is the negative mind, the protective mind. It's always looking to protect us. So the mind's tendency, when it's not modified, is to go negative first. Now that's more pronounced in some people than others, of course. That all is dependent on your architecture. But generally it's true, the first part of the mind to react to anything is your protective shield, your negative mind. Now if that has an excess of dominance in the psyche, that'll become negativity. But in and of itself, it's relative. It can be good, it can be bad. Is it helping you or is it not helping you? Is it causing more happiness and helping, or is it causing more suffering and destruction? That is what determines what makes it good or bad, relatively so. Absolute, it's neutral. Makes sense? So Rahu, when it comes into a focal point of your life, or Saturn, or any other difficult experience, take it out of astrological context if you don't care about that. Just say difficulties are not supremely negative or positive. They're supremely neutral, but they're relatively something at that time. And the relative part is very, very important, because if you skip the relative part, that means you don't know how to grieve. You don't know how to feel anything. That's the danger of indifference at the spiritual level. So, but if there's a basket of compassion that's sitting at that everything is resting within, then you're in the business of embracing suffering. Now, it's not midlife crisis, but there's important transformations that are taking place in a person's life that should be nurtured. It's that natural and it's beautiful. Whether it's crisis, I don't know how to define that, but maybe sometimes there's trauma. So yes, sometimes it is crisis. Crisis can be dealt with the heart of compassion. That's how we deal with it. The best of all our therapists are so totally compassionate people. They have that heart of compassion. They can just listen to you, and they can just feel for you. And from the empathy and compassion of a person like that, you get healed just by being able to talk. Isn't that beautiful? There must be a lot of cancers. And particularly the latter part of Cancer is Ashlesha Nakshatra. And it's still Cancer, it's still lunar, it's still emotional, it's still the moon, but it's ruled by the deity of the Nagas. So it's a much more mystical part of Cancer and often deals with the realm of transformation. A lot of astrologers also have important placements in that section of Cancer. It's really cool, right? It's just mythology that's taking place. And so anyhow, right now the moon's in Libra. And that is a fine time to start to reflect on the relationships in our lives. But you're going to do it within the context of this Kriya. Come onto your backs. Right now the moon is in the part of the sky known as Swati Nakshatra. Swati Nakshatra is a section, the middle section of Libra is the nakshatra called Swati. Swati is ruled by Vayu, the deity that is the air element, which is all about prana. It has the Shakti to distribute things, so it also can be a very good prosperity placement when the moon is in Swati. Like air moves things, so Swati is symbolized by like a little like like, what do you call it? Like a little plant blowing in the breeze. Swati Nakshatra. Very sensitive because it's air element. But its Shakti is to distribute things around, like a good Libra, you know? Can connect things together. Lots of people. They get high on it. Inhale deeply. Exhale completely. Bring your legs together. Inhale deeply. Exhale completely. Come into stretch pose. Deep inhale. Inhale. Draw your navel in. Draw the pelvic floor up and in. Underneath your belly button, the abdomen, draw it in so it shakes a little. Exhale. Hug your knees into your chest. Bring the nose up to the knees. Release your shoulder blades down. Inhale deeply. And go. Revitalize the Agni so it can handle any French toast life throws at you. Rhythm the navel point. Inhale deeply. And exhale. Relax down. I like to emphasize rhythm pocket over saying like breathe powerfully. Because if you can create a deep rhythm pocket, it'll definitely be powerful, but the mind will be in a flow state as opposed to trying to like overpower something. I think it's a nice disposition to do essentially the same thing. But you see for yourself. Hug the knees to the chest. Come up easy pose. Arms out 60 degrees. Inhale. Breathify. And when you have Devin Ashley setting your rhythm pocket, blessings have showered into your life. Open the heart up, chest. Be the brilliant light of your life. It's the only way to have a good relationship with anyone. Moving from neediness to loving desire. And real love doesn't need anything. Inhale deeply. Thumb tips together. And stretch your fingers up. And release your shoulder blades and lift the root line. Stretch up a little more, please. Inhale some more, though. Stretch it. Okay, relax. But then, if we take the route of thinking that we shouldn't have desire as part of some yoga practice, easy there. Yeah, keep it real. The whole thing is trying to be real, but knowing that we've only tapped probably a very small part of what we actually are, so we're humble about it, but also being confident in what we do know. And that confidence comes out of experiencing your real, genuine beauty and brilliance. It's absolutely real. But it has to be real to you. And mine has to be real to me. And that's keeps, it's the same as everything else. It doesn't end. It's not a start. It doesn't end because it's something that doesn't have to do with relativity. It has to do with permanence. It has to do with absolutes. Innately beautiful. Isn't that nice? But relatively, we might be struggling, and we might be struggling to see ourselves that way and feel ourselves that way sometimes. True or true? So then what comes there? Compassion for suffering. That's just suffering. It's no big deal. We're doing it all the time. And even suffering is medicine, but it's bitter medicine. You thought I forgot the other two tastes? The other three tastes, maybe? We only got through sour. Sweet, sour, salty. Or we did pungent. Air and fire. Then what comes what? Bitter. So this is bitter medicines. Air and ether. Saturnian medicines is bitter medicines. But if you don't have bitter medicines, you can't have sweet medicines. They're from the same spectrum. If one of them doesn't exist, the other one doesn't exist. You don't want bitter, don't have sweet. Don't want enemies, don't have friends. This is the relative world. And yet our mind gets totally hypnotized that it's the absolute world, and we suffer because of it. It's simple in concept. That's kind of the whole thing. But we always have to keep reminding ourselves. That's the practice of Simran, of repetition. That's where Simrit's name comes from. It's usually translated as repetition of a mantra. But what it means is remembrance. remembrance of your real nature. And that's why mantras are so beautiful. That's why it's so lovely to chant a mantra and to just vibrate it and to repeat it over and over and over, because all those patterns that keep us hypnotized by non-reality and make us believe that it's reality, which causes our suffering, that's why we attach in a relationship. If we want to really get down deeper into the mechanics of it, but those mechanics and knowing them will not help you very much in the midst of the emotional wave, right? Because you don't care, you're in love. And love doesn't care about the intellect. Love cares nothing of philosophies and mechanics. Love knows no bounds. So that's why we want to make sure to at least do our best to be aware of what is lasting love and what is fleeting love, and to know the difference between the two and be able to enjoy all of it. Because if we know the difference between the two, then we're less likely to grip onto it in a way that will one day cause it to be ripped away and thus cause us to suffer. So the path of bliss is finding the spaces between and betting on, but then verifying for yourself that those spaces between deliver a love that is supreme to what you could get by grasping onto a relative love. Does it make sense? It's just like Dharma physics. But one of the places to really experience and learn about Dharma physics is your primary relationships. Because that's where that's like a laboratory where the microscope is out. You know what I mean? Because you're the ones that you're in real intimate relationships with, if it's regardless if it's sexual or not sexual, but very intimate relationships. That could even be siblings, are very intimate relationships where you really know each other in some substantive way. If it is sexual relationship, well, that's going to be even a more powerful microscope, because those channels would really get open up and you're really bonded together in a substantive way. And so there's an energetic reality to that too, of course, that then draws things up. You ever notice that? Draws things up. So if there's good sensitivity, compassion, then that's not a problem. Drawing things up is not a problem. Drawing things up is part of life, and it's part of transformation process. It's part of blossoming and growing. But as soon as things come up, our sphincters contract. And that's like improper use of mulband. First step, though, is to just allow it to contract, but recognize it's doing it. You're contracting, but at least now I'm aware I'm contracting, and I'm cool with it because I got love for myself. True? It doesn't have to be, oh my God, I'm doing it again. Keep it light is what I think. I wish somebody would. I always say this. I wish somebody would have told me that when I was young. I say, I'm sure they did, and I was just too ignorant to pay attention to that part. And so, anyhow, let's do some proper use of mulband. Come sitting with your eyes closed. And your hands are palms facing forward like this. Palms facing up, I should say. The fingers pointing forward. And your upper arms against your upper body as best as you can. And what you're going to be doing is tracing. You're going to be tracing like a circle. But here's the thing in this meditation, and it'll be hard to do it. You have to keep the idea is to keep your fingers firm and your palms flat. And each time the arms come around, they strike your rib cage definitively. All right, you don't want to have bruises tomorrow, but you make contact like that. And so it looks like, This is a warrior's exercises, and it's about kind of igniting the inner flame, not the hot flame, but the flame of wisdom, the flame of passion. Passion, when it's in alignment with Dharma, becomes wisdom. So then you're going to be chanting the mantra. Hud, hud. Already, all sorts of limp fingers. You're being creative. Make it strong, erect. Tip of the tongue and your navel. Chant it. You know, bring the inner energy of your life out. With your prana, with your sound, with the Shakti. It's tapping the subtle nature and experiencing the power of the subtle nature. Bring forth the energy of your life. Communicate. Sound vibration. Navel point. And visualize at your heart center like a beautiful flame. Not a hot flame, but like a white flame. as your own artistic expression, move so the whole universal creation can feel the energy of your dharma. What happened to the whole dharma and flame of the heart thing, you know? Subconscious mind took over. And we were thinking about something that we're going to be doing next week or happened yesterday. Our to-do list entered back into our field of awareness. It's like wrong time to-do list. It's not your part. This is Simran. This is repetition of the Nam. This is remembrance. Trace the circle though. Sometimes the circle's disappearing. Palms are flat, trace a circle. Strike the rib cage definitively. It's a stimulation of creativity. Maybe in the Bible, when they're talking about the rib, being born from the rib, maybe they're talking about the seventh rib of creativity. Makes a lot more sense than somebody being born from a rib. It's 30 seconds to go. Now inhale, keep the breath in, but keep the motion going. Keep the breath in, but keep the motion going. Strike definitively. Exhale, keep the motion going. It's real precise like this, friends. Boom, 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 boom. Exhale, keep going. Strike, strike. Hands flat, fingers firm. Inhale. Keep going. Keep the Mulaband lifted. Now use the Mulaband. Keep going, exhale. Inhale deeply. Strike, 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 strike. Relax. Bravo. Good job. Good job. Come on your backs. You don't look that proud of yourselves. Come onto your backs. Wasn't last night fun though? I thought that was so cool. It was so creative, and that's what's cool about it. You know, I realized later that ether creates air, and out of air comes fire. Out of fire comes earth, and out of earth comes water. So the natural creation process being emulated in a creative artistic process, you know. And then you put some incredible artists in charge of it up here, and you have a recipe for, you know, good chance of magic. Relax. So how to do that in our lives? How to bring artistry into our life and how we live our life to increase the flow of magic, magical feeling, magical thinking. If everything's magical thinking, we become like space cadets. But if we don't have a healthy dose of magical thinking in our life, we become hypnotized by the samsara. Maya. She's a goddess. She's beautiful. She's alluring. Ultimately, she's divine. But relatively, she can draw us into great suffering. You're going to come into this tabletop posture, like this. Y'all that know it, can you also do it? So I don't have to. I mean, they are getting paid. So that's perfect. Thank you. Relax. Just playing. They also do it much better than me, I should say. But everybody's do it as we can. So, but the idea is we're putting ourselves into a predicament. This is the basic idea. But it's a good predicament. It's a predicament that'll help the prana to open up and flow. I love this little kriya because it really helps to open the pelvis, open the pelvic bowl. And this is my favorite day of the immersion almost every time is the Saturday, because now we're rolling. And anyways, we'll let it speak for itself, but come into the posture. If it strains your wrists, then just make fists. Your fingers can be pointed in either direction. Your root lock is engaged if possible. At least you're lifting through your pelvic floor, and try to lift up through your sternum best you can. Now begin to long, deep breathe. Begin to breathe long and deep. Almost there. It's almost done already. If you can, try to breathe long and deep. Anybody that needs to relax, please, everybody should feel comfortable to take care of themselves. No pressure. I'm encouraging because that's also helpful sometimes, but take care of yourself. Deeper the breath, please. "15 seconds. Inhale deep. Draw the pelvic floor, rectum, sex organ, and navel in. And relax all the way down. Beautiful. Relax all the way down. You excited for the next exercise? Find out what it is. You're going to bring your feet to the earth. And for most of us, what we're going to do, the main posture, is you're going to bring your feet down and you come up into a bridge pose. Yep, just like Nima's doing. So it's your feet connected to the earth. First, your root line, no? How do you make a root line in this posture? Come down first. So lift your toes off the floor and spread them, put them back down. Now stretch out your fingers and put them down, and put whatever parts of your arm and hand is contacting the earth, connect it. Feel the connection, not tense, but feel connected. Tuck your chin in a touch. Your head stays on the ground. And that helps to lift the sternum. Then, to come into this posture, instead of don't start with your spine, start with your legs. Push your feet into the earth to start the process of lifting the pelvis off the floor. Inhale up, and then exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. Sat, Nam. Sat, Nam. Sat, Nam. Keep going like that. Sat, Nam. Sat. And no need for it to be any quicker than that. The slower tempo gives the opportunity for a longer breath, deeper breath. Breath depth in a pranayama is always relative to breath speed. But in quicker rhythms, you create depth by synchronizing with the rhythm, not getting as much breath in as possible. Here in a slower rhythm, it allows you to get more air into the body. Inhale up to the top position. Then breath of fire. Move the navel. Inhale. Relax all the way down. And bring your feet back to the earth. Create the same root line we just created. Go through the whole thing again, but you've just done it, so it should happen just much more easily now. Create your root line in this posture. Inhale, lift the pelvis off the floor. Exhale, down. Deep inhale, come up. With the rhythm. The navel helps to draw the prana into your heart center. And the extension of the spine is really an extension and opening of the chest, the heart. That's why you always start with a root line, so that you can lift through a heart line. At this point, the heart line becomes supreme. Inhale. And relax all the way down. How do you open your heart line? Other than by creating a root line and lifting through your sternum? How about you think of somebody you love? You think of how much beings are suffering. You think of how much you want to love. You think how much you want to be blissful enough to really love. This is opening the heart line. And it's to put it into the practice. When we put your beautiful, healthy intentions together with your prana in your rhythm, you're practicing practical alchemy. You're working with the elements of your life of earth and water and fire and air and space and all the circumstances and happenings of the mind, the subconscious, the body, the subtle nervous system, the prana. And you're putting it into a synchronized energy of rhythm and intent. This is why it's always so important to check our motivation when we're practicing, because if you're pretty good at practicing, it's going to work great. So we want the things to work great that are based on intents, that are based on compassion, that are based on wisdom, and that's an uncovering process. Right motivation for our life is continuously revealing itself to us. One more round of this exercise, okay? Feet to the ground. Inhale and come into the position. And exhale down. Root line and press the feet into the earth. Inhale, come into the position. If you have a nice connected, lifted pelvic floor, you won't feel like you might injure yourself. You know, you'll feel more stabilized that way, and it's not over-pressurizing your system. And by keeping a nice lifted mulabandha, it'll help your body have the wisdom to know where is enough. But it's harder to do at the beginning until those muscles have been developed some, and the only way to develop them is to practice. then it's no problem. Then it's a certain. Then those muscles are your servants. Inhale. Very well done. Relax. Everybody here is so good at this. You can tell by the space that is created. Good isn't like based on anything really but the vibe. The willingness to participate, open-heartedness, aspiration to be happy, aspiration to grow in kindness. This is good stuff. Now you hug your knees to your chest, you rock a few times, and you come lying down on your front side. Anything we do that is of power is always checking our motivation. That was my only point with the corporations and everything. These are things of great power. So always checking our motivation, especially if we're gonna maybe even have a business ourselves, always checking our motivation. Because otherwise that business make you miserable down the road. It'll be like any other relationship. It'll be real good at first. While the initial juices are flowing. But man, that thing can get miserable if the motivation is off, you know? Okay, your chin to the ground. All through this whole exercise, the chin stays on the ground. And your heels together. Motivation of serving. But that doesn't mean not having boundaries, my goodness. Heels are touching, my friends. Hands are interlocked behind you. Hands are interlocked behind you. And in a moment, what's going to happen, you're going to bring the legs up and out towards, up, but also towards the back of the room. And you're going to be your arms, interlocked arms up and out towards the back of the room. But the chin remains on the ground. Yeah, chin remains on the ground. This exercise doesn't get filed in the manila folder of easy. But it is a good one. So just do your best, okay? First create a root line. Take a deep breath in. And then push all the breath out through your nose. And feel how your hips connect to the earth and how your chin is connected to the earth. And one more time, inhale deeply. Fully exhale. Then come into the position with a deep inhale. Extend out, not just up, but extend out. Move the navel point and use the breath. "10 seconds only." That's called relativity. 10 seconds feels like too long. Hold the position, inhale deep. Extend out. Relax. Relax, relax, relax. Turn your head to either side. And push back into extended child's pose. Don't worry, it's just one round of that. It's just as an act of great compassion. And then we're going to come standing up. This is a beautiful exercise where your legs are out, stretched out like we've done many times. Like this. Put the palms together, up. How do you make a root line here? First, feet, legs strong. And then it's releasing your shoulder blades down and engaging your fingers. Be less need to straighten your arms and more to release the shoulders and extend through the fingers. Your arms will straighten to however they can for now. Make sense? And then it's gonna be an inhale up, and then you exhale down over the left side, then you inhale up, and then you exhale down on the other side. Now here's the thing, you can modify it if you want. So where it's just legs strong, coming here, and then this is as far as you go, because you're up here. You could do that. That's as far as you go because of whatever, because the idea is to build your core energy, not to create, nothing special will happen if you touch your toes. You know what I mean? But something special will happen if you keep your heart from collapsing. And that special thing is you'll be forced to use your core muscles to lift you. And that will help your life. Touching the toes? Nah, I don't know. Overrated. I think for me it was probably the reason I talk about that a lot is trauma from like PE class in South Carolina when Coach O was yelling at me to touch your toes, boy. All right? But don't. All right. And anytime. But every inhale, fill the lungs. Deeper the breathing, please. Almost there. If it's a core workout, it doesn't get boring, right? If it's just stretching, it's like, yeah, I think I'm good. If it's a pranic workout, it's energizing. Inhale deep and exhale and come sitting. Now this next one will need modification by some people. You take your index and middle finger. You get this one, it's essential that you're right on your sit bones. The posture will tell you if you're not, because you'll end up rolling backwards probably. So or needing to pull your head way forward to keep your balance, which would collapse your heart, which would not be ideal. So, better than trying to do the full posture if your body isn't doing that, then you can even start just like this. You see how the heart is lifted, chin is in, and you just balance on your sit bones, and you go, or you can bring them out, or you can bring them out partially. You can try to, even me, I haven't done this in a while, so you have to kind of be slow with it so you don't pull something. But then when you can open up, you'll feel comfortable enough, and then you can begin like a is that you're gonna have your knees bent. Don't worry about, perfect, relax. That was just the show you that it's not that big of a deal. We haven't actually started yet. You know what I mean? Because this posture is one where you're like, oh, you're holding on for dear life. So I just wanted to make sure the principles are clear, because that'll serve you in whatever practice you're doing. You may not go home and do this one. You might. This is a good Kriya. But what is the principle? The heart stays lifted. It's giving their navel room to operate. And you're using the angles of the posture, the lifting the heart, the root line and the heart line, to help circulate prana, so that the subconscious mind isn't as easily able to dominate our better aspirations for our life. That's why we start with aspirations. Okay? So, but in this moment, our only aspiration is to try to do this posture. And so be on your sit bones. And come into the posture. Take the camera off me, Aki. Keep going. Breath of fire. It's a beautiful posture. Open the heart, It's taking all of that sexual, creative energy of the second chakra, the power of the third chakra, the stability of the first chakra, and let it lift. Let it not be congested or stuck. Let it circulate to our whole being. Let us be well-rounded. Let us be blissful. Inhale. Mulband. Suspension. Relax. Bravo. Right? Yeah, we killed that. Come onto the hands and knees. I love this one. So it's one leg at a time, like this. Create a root line. Your fingers are spread wide. This last final part of balancing the pelvic bowl. It's a reservoir of immense energy, and it also has to hold a lot. for instance, think how powerful sexual energy is. This is resting in the bowl of the pelvis. Think how powerful fear can be. This is resting in the pelvic bowl. How about ambition, desire? Pleasure, powerful. Inhale. Exhale. And relaxing for a few moments in child's pose. So these are all facts of life. So all that we're doing in a practice is weaving a basket or weaving an environment in our life that allows those energies to be able to express themselves and not have to be suppressed, and to find the ways for all our innate energies to express themselves in ways that are healthy, in the ways that are healthy for us and for others. That's the idea. Baby steps. Yeah? Other side. Sat, nam, 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 nam, sat, nam, sat, nam, sat, nam, sat, nam, sat. Nam sat, 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 nam sat. Nam sat, nam sat, nam sat. Inhale out and relax. And relax, child's pose. Make your way onto your backs, relax onto your backs. Relax onto your backs. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And slowly begin to bring yourself back. Rub the palms and do the whole thing. Okay. Your left hand is like this. And your right hand is like this. Like that. Beautiful posture. On the inconvenient side of beautiful. But a really great meditation. So that's what we'll be doing, okay? That'll be the posture. But what do we always do first? Sit bones. Especially with something like this, it's going to go on for a little bit. That's when you don't want to start without a root line, because that root line will serve you. Because if in any posture where your arm has to be above your shoulders, 60-degree angle, that's when you're really going to benefit from strong foundation. Because otherwise, that you're going to feel extra. There's already going to be weight because of gravity. But you're going to feel extra weight because you're not well supported underneath. So over time, as you develop those muscles at the core, these types of kriyas become easier. Because not easier. So root line, that's all. Then your fingers of your left hand like this. And then your right hand, fingers are nice and firm. It's not rigid, but there's a firmness to them. And you close your eyes, and with the eyes closed down, you look down towards your chin, which is your lunar center. It's a lunar center. How I do that is you roll your eyes downward. Of course, you can't look at your chin. Y'all can start at any point you feel. It's good to do it as I'm describing it. What's that? Yeah, eyes will be closed. Right palm facing forward, and look. Eyes are closed, and you look down towards your chin. But what I do is I feel my breath flowing in and out of my chin. Chin, that's the chin. So enjoy. But after a few minutes of holding this posture, which the time's already started, the subconscious mind will start to react. And then the battle begins. Between you and the mind. The fingers on the forehead like you're blessing yourself. And then the hand facing outward like you're blessing the world. The breath is very long, slow, and deep. This is the meditation for purifying the Sushumna, the central channel, the nucleus of the subtle nervous system. That means so our great energy can flow. It puts a certain pressure on the system to cause the glandular system and the nervous system to respond. That pressure will have to be met somehow. You can meet it with a mental turbulence. You can meet it with the breath. You can meet it with a sense of fortitude. You can meet it however you wish. But if you stay in the posture, you will meet it. Try to keep your chest lifted and your core strengthened. Keep the breath long, slow, and deep. And welcome to the laboratory of your mind. See if you can watch the thoughts. See if you can watch the feelings. See if you can watch your mind's response to the stress and to the pressure of the predicament. And continuing to anchor back in to the breath. The more difficult, that deeper the breathing. Deepen the breath now. when you hit a threshold, when you're brought to the edge, not your physical edge, but the edge of your mind's ability to stay focused. A little bit deeper with the breath. Chant. You know? Vibrate the cosmos. Cosmos clear the path. Why rely on little old you when you can connect to all that is? With your navel, the navel is in the rhythm section. It's a lift. It's a lift. Third eye goes to gaze. Brilliant heart energy. And then just vibrate the mantra. And the waves will come crashing. Keep the chanting. If you can keep the posture, that's wonderful. Chant it. Had, 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 had. Tip of your tongue. It feels very beautiful when you pay attention how it strikes your upper palate. It's so sensitive and divine. Chant like that. The navel. It's creative. It's all the energies involved. Give a nice lift. Lose yourself in the rhythm now, you know? Go for it. Just go all the way into it and enjoy. It's called tuning the great instrument. That is the vehicle of the great purpose. your heart and make room for your navel point. Thinking of all of our aspirations, our aspiration for love, for truth, for fulfillment, for happiness, and to be free of our sorrows, our sufferings. And feeling into how we all share that in common. Every living being. Chant like that. Mantras are acting like waves of compassion. Now keep the posture, inhale, and hold the posture, and suspend the breath as you stretch your spine upward vertically. That means, of course, you'd have to lift your pelvic floor and release your shoulders and tuck the chin. That's how we extend our spine up, then go vertical. And then, when you need to, through the O-shaped mouth like a cannon's fire, you exhale. And then through the nose, inhale. And you then pull the Mulaband up some and extend through your spine and suspend the mind. And whenever you need to exhale, exhale and begin again, inhaling, extending, and exhaling. It's the last phase of the Kriya, but it maybe takes the most concentration because you might be wondering, how much longer will this go? That thought has become your enemy. See if you can just suspend the breath, suspend the mind, and extend the spine. Dharma is the bull upon which the entire universe rests, and is born as the son of Mother Compassion. Deep and continuous patience is the mantra. The nucleus of the universe is always impulsing, always vibrating. And from there comes the sound. Deep and continuous patience is that mantra. And it is the thread which holds it all in place and binds everything together. When someone understands this, that person becomes a custodian of truth. How much weight does the bull of Dharma carry on its back? 60 seconds. Hold the position. Inhale. Inhale deep. Now fully exhale. Now inhale deep. And whatever part of your body or life presents itself to you in this moment, send your healing energy there. Trust it right away. Hold the position, exhale. Inhale deeply. Now tighten your spine. Tighten the fingers. And like a cannon, exhale. Inhale deeply. Lift the Mulaban. Tighten the spine. Tighten the fingers of the palm facing forward. And like a cannon, exhale. And inhale deepest. Tighten the spine. And relax. And inhale and shake it. Take your arms up and shake them out. Shake, shake, shake. All right, good. Relax. Open your eyes. Don't worry, there'll be plenty more time to get spacey. Good job, everybody. Stretch your legs out. Have a little water. It's not the sounds of hands clapping, it's the sounds of knees hurting. Okay, great job. Whenever there's doing something transformative, there's always great possibility of emotions to come. Has anybody been experiencing any of that? It's just like understanding the engine that is our mind, body, nervous system, emotional system, pranic system. Just like in order for us to get from one place to another in any of our vehicles, you came on a plane or drove in a car, that vehicle needs some sort of fuel. And in order to turn that fuel into motion, there also is going to be a exhaust. So there, whenever you hit a threshold of pressure, then you get a bifurcation point. And that means things can go in one of two ways. So the stress in our life, in other words, can cause us to bifurcate into greater depression. Totally possible, isn't it? Greater anxiety, and greater insecurity, all these things. But that same exact pressure can also become greater vitality, can be greater love, greater awareness, greater, may we even say blissfulness. But I use that word here now because we've had time to unpack it. Because when we're talking about bliss, we're talking about a subtle state. When you're talking about bliss, you're talking about a subtle state that's not subjected to the ups and downs of life. So this isn't a bliss that is easily obtained by just, a good party or something like that. It's something that we cultivate throughout our life. It's one of our great joys. We're bliss gatherers, cultivators, so that it can be shared. But anyways, when you go into the point of an immersion like this, that process happens. It can happen in the process of just a kriya, or it can happen in the process of, say, a transformational event, like an immersion, whether you're at home or here, it doesn't matter. And then when that threshold point hits, there's got to be some exhaust. So whenever energy is being transformed, there's always a release. And the release happens in human beings as emotion. Energy is in motion. Energy is being released. So sometimes you just break down and cry. And you sure feel better once you do, don't you? And sometimes it'll be laughter, giddiness, joy, and all the other emotions. Sometimes it can be things that are, much more subtle we wouldn't be able to tell from the outside. But there's always some type of release point at a transformational moment, and so that's great. But it's good to understand that, I think, and know that, because then it's like, and you can nurture yourself, and there's no reason to force any of that. That kind of stuff can't be forced. That's why we just try to do the practice, try to do it well, but continue to be gentle with ourselves, continue to remind ourselves we're not in a rush, continue to remind ourselves that things are A-okay just as they are. And transformation is natural and desirable. Because if we're not transforming, then what is going? We're either stuck or going in the other direction. And so to just be in the natural rhythm of life is a healthy thing. So when you go into an immersion, that can be the difficult process of the immersion, where there's often, sometimes emotions stirred up. Sometimes it's things that'll happen in our life while we're doing an immersion that will stir them up. Some text message comes through. You know what I mean? You ever got one of those? Something from, we have all the karmas, and this is relationships. Why did they send me that? They knew I was doing the immersion. So, just lean into it all. Take care of ourselves. Have a good lunch, and enjoy. But try to take a nap at lunchtime. The gong will be playing in here. About 15 to 60 minutes. I'm just kidding. To 15. Leah thought she was signing up for a 15-minute gong. 45 minutes later. Thank you, Leah. But there will be gong playing for a little bit before the class starts, and that's a nice time if you want to lay down on. When you lay on your left side after you eat, it helps the way the food is digested. Your gravity is helping the digestive process if you're lying on your left side. A little Ayurvedic stuff. But when you're going to bed, they say to lay on your other side to activate your left nostril more. I lay on whatever side I feel comfortable on. But I do think about it. All right, we're going to have a beautiful afternoon, and tonight's going to be so much fun. So, in other words, nap is another way of saying pace yourself. All right, see you in a little bit. Oh, a couple announcements before we all take off.